It's a blue world without you. It's a blue world
Vancouver, home of 630,000 people, 2.5 million in the greater area. It is the biggest city in British Columbia and the 9th largest in Canada. Nestled between the sea and the mountains, it has been known as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. This is largely due to the integration of its environment into the city. For example, the seawall. As the world's longest uninterrupted waterfront path, it passes Vancouver's most notable destinations, including Kitsilano Beach, Granville Street, Granville Island, Science World, English Bay, and finally ending off at Stanley Park. Stanley Park is a 405-hectare green area surrounded by Burrard Inlet and English Bay, while also bordering Vancouver's downtown area. This park was the start of Vancouver's mission to become the sustainable green city it is today. Though Vancouver is known for being a green city, it is still a city, and with cities come garbage, pollution, and habitat loss. British Columbia, the fourth largest province, produces less solid waste per person and diverts more materials to recycling and compost facilities than every other Canadian province other than Nova Scotia. A big city like Vancouver produces tons of waste every year. 25% of all waste in the residential areas is food scraps. About 2% of all this waste is clothing. About 20 tons of clothing are discarded annually. Compared to what Vancouver was disposing of 30 years ago, this is a huge improvement. In the 1990s, Vancouverites were throwing away almost 1,000 kilograms of garbage per person. This is 181% more garbage per capita than in 2019. This is a sizable improvement, yet there are still some problems. There is a 20% influx of littering during our summer month when tourism is at its peak. The tourism boost causes a tsunami of excess garbage to end up in the streets of Vancouver, eventually ending up in our forests, harbors, and bays, making its way into the ocean and further polluting our waters and forests. One of the main pollutants in Vancouver is the use of personal automobiles. Personal vehicles account for 18% of smog and 31% of greenhouse gas emissions within the Metro Vancouver area. As of 2016, there are 1.6 million registered vehicles with ICBC in Metro Vancouver. Vancouver has made many steps to counteract these numbers. The widespread use of their extensive public transport system has unquestionably lessened their annual smog and greenhouse gas emissions. Vancouver is one of the few cities in North America that has unmetered water. It is not billed in the same way electricity or natural gas is. It is some of the world's cleanest water supplies. While drinking water is not a problem, there is still a substantial amount of pollution from agricultural, industrial, and port activities being released into the Burrard and Fraser River. These areas release directly into the ocean. The most common contaminants include coolants, paint additives, and coal tar, used for coating water tanks and bridges. Pollution Tracker also found high levels of polychlorinated biphenyl, or PCB, and hydrocarbons, which are found in oil and gas products. Vancouver is an ever-growing city. Its magnitude spans over 115 square kilometers, and Greater Vancouver spans over 2,700 kilometers squared. This now urban landscape used to be home to temperate rainforests, filled with spectacular scenery of lakes, mountains, and open oceans. The temperate rainforest thrived. These types of forests cover less than 10% of the world's land surface. Rainforests are the world's most productive areas on Earth. The high precipitation in these forests accounts for making them dense and green. The grand amount of plant life that dwells in these forests consume the carbon from the atmosphere as well as sunlight. The carbon into oxygen process is called photosynthesis, and rainforest is responsible for 1/3 of all Earth's oxygen. Coastal temperate rainforests are one of the best carbon storehouses on the planet. It is one of our best assets in the fight against climate change. Old growth forests can harbor more carbon than new growth. It is important to protect our old growth forests surrounding the Vancouver area. Almost half of North America's coastal rainforests can be found in British Columbia. These forests thrive from sea level all the way up to 900 meters of elevation. This expanse has the capacity to have old growth trees that have been found up to 1,000 years old and some 30 meters across. Old growth woods provide habitats for many endangered species, such as marbled murrelets, northern goshawk, and the Roosevelt elk. Coastal forests also sustain the Pacific salmon run with its rivers and streams and provide spawning grounds and feeding grounds to also sustain the forest. Our ecological rich sea life is home to such iconic species such as the killer whale or white sturgeon, and is becoming weakened by Vancouver's port. The industrial activities within the port have diminished thriving ecosystems. Port of Vancouver has been working on maintaining and rebuilding healthy environments. Their focus is on the care of water, land, and habitat. Port of Vancouver aims to prevent stormwater pollution, which can contaminate local water sources and harm wildlife. Vancouver balances the city and its wildlife like no other. It's our home, in the heart of beautiful British Columbia.